What is up, DCS Crew? It's Carlos and my buddy Ziggy here with a special guest by the name of Dylan Mallery. Go ahead and say what's up to the DCS Crew, man.
Hello, everybody.
So as you can see, we got a little something special on the table. This is the prototype that Dylan has been whoring out on his Instagram for what seems like forever. And there's a lot of questions that have come up with regards to this prototype. Hopefully this video will help shed some information prior to its release. Well, I don't want to get too much of the cat out of the bag, so let's go ahead and wait till after the intro and we can go ahead and talk about this awesome prototype from Civivi that is slated to be released in the somewhat near future. We'll talk about that as well, and yeah, get a couple questions with regards to you know, the creative background on this knife, maybe even the possible name from Dylan himself. So stay tuned, and we're gonna get right to it. Hey, welcome back to DCS Crew. I am here with Ziggy, who has a brand new Nylabone, so he should be backed up for about, let's say another 30 seconds, 2 minutes, right? And in the meantime, I'm here with Dylan Mallery. We do have his proto from Civivi Knife Company. And yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about this. In fact, let's just go ahead and put this right here so that everybody knows officially that Dylan Mallery is in the building. Okay, so go ahead and state your name, state what you do.
My name is Dylan Mallery. I am a knife designer, sketch person.
Okay, so you've worked with a couple of companies in the past, correct?
Yes.
Okay, where would we be able to see some of your designs produced by?
I've worked with companies such as With Armor, Artisan Cutlery, of course, CJRB, and soon to be with Civivi.
Okay, all right, so that's where this particular design comes from. Okay, now I've seen this on your Instagram account, and I'm sure there are countless other people that have inquired about this. So I figured I'd go ahead and get one elephant in the room at least answered and addressed. Does this have a name, or is there at least a project name, like a TBA? Like it's like, okay, we're considering this name, but they may actually change it later. Is there a name that's set for this particular knife?
Yes, so as of now, we are calling it the Hadros, which is another dinosaur.
Okay, so how did that come about that you chose that particular? Because I mean, you do like the whole dinosaur theme.
Yes.
So did you just continue with that theme in this particular one, or was there a reason why you saw it? I mean, was it like late night after a couple of drinks watching Jurassic Park? It's like, Hadros, got it. Okay, let's do it.
Actually, an Instagram follower / friend told me, he's like, hey dude, what do you think of this name? And I got the name from him. So
wow, okay. You want to give him a shout out, or is he just be like, out of anonymity, you're just gonna say Instagram, or he'd know who he is if he saw this video, huh?
he knows who he is.
Okay, all right, I'll keep it that way. I don't want to make him too famous, because then I don't want him to come back, you know, with a claim being like, I named it, and maybe even change the name upon production. But for now, yeah, you're sticking with the name, the Hadros.
The Hadros.
Okay.
If they do change it in the future, I would hate for it to be like, you know, he would be like, well, I had the name, and then you changed it. It wasn't me, so.
All right, okay. So, okay, now that being said, I'm going to go ahead and call it the Hadros right now. So, let's go ahead and do a couple of size comparisons between this and a couple of other knives that we have on the table now. I do understand that you brought some knives from your own collection. Not only that are your designs, but from, I mean, other models that really stick out and some that are new. So let's go ahead and go with some of those. Okay, so now this one right here is kind of like a Franken Archeo. This was a blade show special that you have with the DLC blade M390 steel, and it originally had gold, I guess anodized scales with the carbon fiber inlay, and then you went ahead and you blade swapped the blade, I guess the hardware and the clip.
Yes, I took a prototype that I originally had of the small Archeo and just swapped all the blade and the hardware.
Really nice. No, and that's badass. I mean, you know, you usually see these in S35VN, not M390, so it's nice to be able to see this particular one in M390, right? Or is that was that something that was commonplace for the Archeo?
S35 was only on these two prototypes.
Oh wow, okay. So the prototypes had S35VN, but the actual production models had M390. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow, that makes me look kind of stupid knowing that I don't have an Archeo and that they did have M390. But moving on. So here is the full-sized Archeo. So as you can see, the Hadros, as you call it, it is actually sandwiched between these two, literally here and in size. So it's a little bit larger than the small Archeo and a little bit smaller than the, well, smaller, not a little bit, than the large Archeo. Okay, and this is the standard production model, correct?
Perfect.
Okay, nice. Alrighty.
But yes, we never changed anything besides the detent placement, so it is exactly as a production would look.
Okay, so that was the late game prototype right before they went ahead and they did it. Okay, cool. That's right. You carry a lot of your prototypes. Okay, so let's see here. What else do we have? You know what? I'm gonna bring something out that I have personally before we keep going. This is the Best Tech Ivy. This is a no-stop hill design that was issued as kind of the second part of the oh man, what's it called? The Bouquet line. It's a front flipper with a hawkbill design, M390 steel. Really nice. It's considerably bigger than the predecessor, which is the Tulip, a front flipper with like a modern take on the Japanese Kiridashi, and really badass. So okay, so as you can see, it's a little bit bigger than that. Here's another one that's a very well-known knife from CJRB. This is the Feldspar. Now, this is the small version. The larger version is going to be, you know, arguably bigger than both the small and the Hadros in this particular case. I don't have that one with me, but one thing that I do have that's a little bit larger than both is this guy from Kershaw. This is the Bare Knuckle, 14C28 and steel. And yeah, as you can see, it is a little bit larger. It does have that black wash blade. Speaking of which, as far as size and, well, not really size, but I mean, color and blade wash is concerned, I mean, were there any plans for them to come up with an alternate color other than black?
I believe we're going to be doing an OD Green G10. And I'm not sure of this, but there may be an orange version as well, all with satin blades.
Okay, cool. No, and given honestly, you know, the way that Civivi has been working on their designs, I'm sure that if it sells well, there may be the possibility for it to be, you know, coming out in the future with like another variant, not only in steel but in color too. So that's pretty cool. And one last one that we do have to kind of compare it to is an awesome little knife. It's called the RIA from CJRB. This one is in carbon fiber with the deep carry clip, and now the steel on this one is let me see here, it's 12C27, but they were considering coming out with the proprietary steel for CJRB, right, which is RPM 9.
Right.
Okay, so now that we talked about the steels in RPM 9, it's okay, you can go ahead and sneeze if you got to. It is what it is. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this to the side, and now, this is another hot topic, and the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I'm sure you probably get this at least once a day. Given everything that's been going on with when you receive the prototype, you know, when you've been fiddling with it, any, you know, issues that came about with design that you brought up to the company, and, well, basically coronavirus, there's probably been, you know, quite a bit of adjustment with regards to the release date. So can you kind of shed some light as to why this hasn't been released, or, you know, like why everything has been so slow and Civivi's been like slow moving? I mean, is it, you know, pressure from maybe another maker, or, you know, that wants to get their stuff out first, or maybe another company that's like trying to snuff it? I mean, I would assume that they have you know with that. So what light can you shed on that?
Well, I did speak to Civivi, with We Knives recently about the release date, and they did tell me that because of what had happened with the COVID-19 and the way the factories were running,
Okay.
is that they were running, they're running small batches of previous models to catch up on orders, and essentially just putting out what needs to be refilled, and then working on the new stuff.
Okay, yeah, I did see that there were, you know, particular styles like the Elementum and the Dogma and a couple of other ones, and then just some models that I know that were slated for release, like the Odium, that came out, and they did come out in a couple of colors, and they did restock some you know, very well selling models like the Elementum. But so that being said, I mean, I can only imagine that their pipeline has really been slow because of coronavirus. So that's probably why they haven't gotten this out to, I guess, the final stages to say, okay, yeah, we're gonna release it. This is the time we're gonna release it. I mean,
Right.
I I would say, and I don't know if you probably agree with me, but just for the sake of mentioning, you know, like a future release date, I would be pretty confident saying this will probably come out in 2021. Don't you think?
Oh yeah, for sure. I would believe it would be either toward the end of year, before, hopefully, obviously in my head, before Christmas. That way, you know, if you want to pick up a gift, give somebody else a gift, you know, that can be purchased. But definitely, hopefully around SHOT Show release, so first quarter.
Okay, all right, cool. And if not, I mean, you know, I know that Civivi and we like to kind of surprise people with stuff during the year, and especially something, you know, right around Blade Show, which is June of next year. But SHOT Show is at the beginning of the year. It's for those who don't know, SHOT Show is a sport, hunting, and outdoor trade show, and that's held in Las Vegas. I believe towards the end of January every year. This was actually my first year going, and I actually got to hang out with Dylan while we were out there, and that was pretty cool. He actually showed me this, but I saw a lot of knives that were released by Civivi, and we, you know, one of them being the Odium that I mentioned earlier. And it's kind of surprised because it's like you see the prototypes or the finished prototypes that are already slated for release. That was in January, and that was released, I mean, no more than maybe a few weeks ago.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, for something that's still in prototype stages, I kind of figured that it was going to be pushed out past, you know, 2020, going into 2021. But I don't think that it'll be much past that, because I got a feeling like with the, you know, the stir that this has actually been coming up with. And I don't mean it because you're here. I just mean it because, you know, people have really genuinely liked this particular folder, that we should be seeing it, you know, pretty soon. And I'm sure Civivi will have something, you know, in the works. If not, at least a name, right?
At least a name, if anything. At least we can get a name.
Okay, so as far as design, okay, I don't want to say it's unapologetically, you know, Dylan Mallery, but there are obviously some design cues that are taken from some other, you know, releases that you have out on the market. Most notably, obviously, there's the Archeo, and there is also the CJRB Centros, which I have right here. Sorry, I had that in my pocket. It took me a little longer to get that out. So with this, I mean, I know that you mentioned that you have, I guess, your creative thought process. It goes into your mind, onto some paper, and then I guess from paper onto like a CAD software.
Yes.
And then it kind of, you know, do you create like a depiction of it? Do you 3D print it and kind of try it out and see how it works? I mean, how does that process usually go for you?
Yeah, so sometimes generally I will draw a rough outline, and so this is actually I have in my sketchbook with me here. So I'll draw a rough outline of what a knife will look like. Like for example, this is just a random sketch, but
Okay.
so that's just a random sketch. So it'll just be a rough outline, and then I'll take that outline and throw it into CAD, and then refine everything, double check sizes and specs and thicknesses, and then I can then take that and put it onto a 3D software and print it out.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool. All right. So, do you have the original designs for this particular one?
I do have an original idea of what this knife was to look like.
Okay. So this is something that you would come up with. Wow, it goes back as 2018. Okay. So, like, I noticed that there was like the thumb hole in this one, and then you know, obviously the we'll call it the Hadros for this particular video. It has a thumb stud, but as you can see, there are some elements that come. I see a little bit more of the scale that's translated here. With regards to the design, and then the blade. You know what I believe? To be completely honest, it kind of reminds me of like the ProTech Malibu. With regards to like the the blade shape. Yeah. I really like how this one came out. It kind of like had that reverse Tonto / Wardenclyffe modified, you know, look. It would have been nice to have seen something like that, but I like how it has that kind of rounded off portion here. It kind of looks a little bit more sleek, and I'm assuming that it probably translates it to being a little bit more streamlined once it's folded in the pocket, as you can see here. So I thought that that's pretty cool. Now, well, that's pretty badass, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go, guys. That's actually one of the original design sketches. This is actually his sketchbook. It's kind of like Eminem's what is it? His playbook, like what he puts all his rhymes and stuff in. You should see some of the stuff in here. This stuff is gold. So I wish I could show you some more, but I can't. So so yeah, back to this guy right here. As you can see, the scale itself is actually pretty thin. What I mean is it's pretty narrow, and then the knife itself, it seems to be quite a bit bigger. It does look like it's a bigger knife than it is, but the truth is it's really not. In this size, I want to say, what are the dimensions on this knife again, if you recall correctly?
Off the top of my head,
Yeah.
it's a 3.3-inch blade,
Okay.
and it's a 4 1/4 handle. So
Okay.
4.25.
So did they decide to make this a little bit bigger than the sketch, or a little bit smaller than what you expected, or was did they just took the design as you had it and did it as is? I mean, were there any modifications to it?
Civivi actually did not make any scale changes as far as the size went. So I thought that was really, really great, because usually some companies will take liberties and for the sell factor and make changes. So
Okay.
originally the Argeo was actually a 3 1/4 blade.
Okay.
So they made the 4-inch first, well,
Okay.
3.8 first. Then they scaled it down to the 3. So I like the 3-inch version personally a lot better because I have small hands.
Mm-hmm.
But it works. It works well. The small Archeo works well also. So there's really no issues there. I didn't have an issue with, because they did tell me they were making a 4-inch version.
Okay.
And I really didn't have an issue with it. So
Okay. Now back to the Hadros. Now as far as the grind, was that how it was originally intended? I mean, did you want it to look different? I mean, were there any changes with regards to actually the blade, like the grind of the blade? Because let me tell you, I gotta be honest. I mean, it's really nice, but I don't know, man. I was kind of hoping for Civivi to finally come out with something like a nice, newer model with like a full flat grind. And but I mean, again, a hollow grind, something like that I'm sure it can get extremely sharp if you end up stropping it. I mean, what was did they have any design element changes to that? I mean, did you want them to do a specific grind on it? How did that come out?
So the only Civivi did change the grind lines because of the way I draw mine, as you probably noticed on like the Centros and the Archeo.
Yeah,
they're pretty rounded, and that doesn't really translate well into manufacturing.
Okay.
And that is something I did not learn out of the gate, obviously. So Civivi told me that this will be a lot better, more cost effective, things like that. Because stuff like this is hard to kind of replicate. And the slicing ability gets really thick back here, so.
Okay, cool. Now, one thing I do want to go ahead and focus on, and hopefully my camera will do the same, is right here, as you notice, like from the tip all the way down to the base, it's got a really nice edge, and then it goes into the kind of sharpening choil right here. And if you notice, there's a gap between the sharpening choil, like where the blade ends, and then this portion right here of the grind changes. There are companies, and I don't want to go ahead and particularly name any, Spyderco, that actually have both of them really close together to where you, especially for those sticklers like knife sharpeners that want that mirror edge from the tip all the way down to the base of the blade, that they always run into issues at the end when they're grinding through the metal and they're trying to reprofile and get that that edge, that they always have that area that's like, it's a small area between where the edge ends and then the grind begins, that's always left in kind of like a limbo, and it looks all jacked up. And I like the fact that Civivi has that kind of little space here. Let me go ahead and see if I can get into the light, as you can see right here. Okay, and that's actually something pretty cool. And another thing I really like is, and some people may disagree, they may even change this for the full production model, but I noticed that there's no lanyard hole or anything like that. I guess you can go ahead and fit a lanyard hole through there.
You could fit a lanyard through here, but I specifically told them no lanyard hole. As you can tell, that's a thing common in my designs, is I don't like lanyard holes. So I specifically do not like lanyard holes in my knives. And I requested no lanyard hole. I don't like the aesthetics of a hole being in the handle. It's just unattractive to me. So that's why with Artisan they went with pins.
Okay.
And I removed the pin out of my Centros, but
I did notice that. Yeah, I think mine has it.
if we grab Carlos's, oh, wow, that's a fail on my part.
Even Ziggy didn't like that. He's like,
Yeah,
come on,
he's like,
man,
come on,
that's your
dude.
own knife.
What's up? So Carlos does still have his lanyard hole on the back of his knife. So, but yeah, that's just a feature I really am not a fan of lanyard holes.
Okay, cool. All right. So I'm assuming that with Civivi working on one of your knives that chances are that may actually open up. I know, Pops, we're gonna end it soon. Here, come here. So I figured that with Civivi working on this particular knife, that may open the doors to the possibility of you getting a design through We Knife Company, or maybe just something different that you're working on with them. I mean, could we expect something like that in the future, or is this going to be like a one and done kind of thing with them?
Realistically speaking, I would. The best case scenario is this: if the Civivi does well, then I will get an opportunity to work with We Knives. But obviously, if it doesn't do well, then there probably might not be that opportunity. So.
Okay, so in other words, the fans got to buy this knife.
Right. I'm just grateful for the opportunity to have something with Civivi. So.
Definitely. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad you were able to stop by and show off the knife. This is, I guess, the projected name is the Hadros per one of the Instagram followers for Dylan Mallery. You can go ahead and check out his page at Mallery Designs. If you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and sign off below, and Dylan would be able to go ahead and answer them, if not myself, on his behalf. And yeah. Thank you so much for stopping by, Dylan. This is an awesome knife. I actually got to try it out, and it's pretty badass. Now, I do have to let you go because Ziggy does need to get walked, and as you can hear, he's pretty adamant about wanting to go outside. So just remember, guys, whether it's the Hadros or the Archeo, hell, even the Centros, if you EDC, think of DCS. Thanks so much, Dylan Mallery, for stopping by, and take it easy, guys. I'll see you next time. Peace.